Chicago, best known as the Windy City, well known for its landmarks, but nevertheless recognized for its music. Over the past 5 years, the Chicago dance music scene has established itself as being among the most prolific and influential in the world. But in the beginning, house music was nowhere heard or seen.
It wasn't form of music that a lot of people went out and bought. It wasn't like mainstream industry where you're going to have cassette singles for 99 cents on sale at the, tapeworm or whatever it's called down the street.
House music started in the early 80s in Chicago at a former factory called the Warehouse. House music came about when the club's disc jockey, Frankie Knuckles, the godfather of house music, mixed borrowed parts of recordings, added synthesizers, and put the sounds together with a drum machine's beat. This new concept, played exclusively at the Warehouse, was referred among all the club goers as house. It wasn't long after Knuckles' first record release that artists all over Chicago blossomed and began putting lyrics over the house tracks. One of these artists, Steve Silk Hurley, who was a local club DJ and later turned writer-producer, formed and became part of the duo J.M. Silk.
I had to stop DJing and start going out as an artist. I had a partner that was also, he was the vocalist on the song. And we decided to make a group of it. And the group was called J.M. Silk. The record went to like #9 on the National Dance Chart. And then we had a couple of other records hit. And then I had a record called Jack Your Body that went to #1 on the pop charts in the UK. And that was probably my biggest record to date as far as me as an artist.
Because Hurley's music has been very influential in the underground scene, it has taken house music to the doorsteps of the European market. Although house music was well established in the underground music industry, it was in the mid-80s that Hurley and rap artist M-Doc decided that the house sound needed a new twist.
One of the first hip house records was M-Doc. I had to twist his arm to get him to do it. He was, because he was really into the hip hop thing, and I was like, come on man, just rap over this house track. And that record was called It's Percussion, and it did real well. And that was probably the first hip house record.
Check it out, party people while I rock the mic. I've got percussions you gotta like. They're dynamite, excites the crowd. They jacking and react so wild. Move your body, groove your body. The percussions make you party. Jack it up, but get down to this house sound. You know what time it is? Then shoot the floor. The beat is sweet, includes drums galore. The crowd goes wild when the beat is loud. This is a song of a different style. I say 1, 2, 3, 4. Get on the floor. What are you waiting for? You know the song is great and the beat is straight. Get on the floor and celebrate, celebrate.
M-Doc's contribution to the house sound led to the development of hip house, which in turn became the foundation for the evolution of new sounds.
I was at first, and I started with Steve Silk Hurley producing a song called It's Percussion, which also went gold over in Europe. So that's what I know about the scene. And right now the scene seems like it's exploding.
The development of house music has opened many doors in the music industry. Unfortunately, many of those doors opened in New York.
There's a lot of independent labels here. There's a couple of major labels here, but the ones who call the shots are either on the East Coast or the West Coast. You see it with comedians all the time. How many comedians have come from Second City in Chicago but had to move on to Saturday Night Live to make it. It's just something that seems to be necessary. The one thing that I will agree with is that it's tough for Chicago artists to get accepted by their own before they have to move on and then get accepted. It's the strangest thing. You could be from Chicago and be opening up for a New York act and get booed because you're not that New York act. Now in New York, I'll agree, it's not that way. It's totally different markets. The main people in the music business are not in Chicago. That's just the bottom line.
But why is it that Chicago artists have not succeeded as well as New York artists?
In New York, the New Yorkers get cheered on just as easily as they do if they were from Chicago or Philadelphia or Los Angeles. And here in the city, it seems as if they want you to earn your pub before, you know, they're going to start clapping and cheering for you, which is a shame because they really should be supporting the Chicago acts.
New York is a very powerful city because people come together and they work, they network, and they kind of put their personal, you know, things aside, and they come down to the business table and negotiate a proper deal, and they execute it. Whereas Chicago is a little bit opposite, you know. I mean, they don't come together to unite, you know, and that's starting to happen now. But before that, everybody was for themselves.
New Chicago rising artists have taken a different approach to the road of success.
We don't really want to categorize it. We want people to kind of listen to it and make them decide what that type of music is.
This is the type of style that I like, first of all. I've always been into dance. I head on to the clubs a lot, and it's just something that a lot of people, including myself, get into.
What I intend to do with this particular project is basically get all the club DJs and everybody on the radio to really make a buzz on this.
And where does that buzz begin? In the clubs, of course. However, radio stations such as WCYC, CRX, BMX, GCI, and BBM have played an important role in the exposing of Chicago artists.
We take anybody.
Okay.
We take anybody. You don't have to be well known. We try to make you.
Transported to a mountain range with clear blue
You know, sometimes we let the artists solicit record companies if they're listening to the radio station.
But as music innovators have agreed, it will take more than just radio stations to push the underground music to light. Because after all, Chicago's music has been proven to be a potential market.
The only way that they're going to get the publicity that they're due is by moving on.
It's a different type of song, so why not go all the way?
New York and LA, they're number one and number two, so it's not enough room for three.
It's all about how big a project can be. I mean, you can have the lousiest record, but if you can put a lot of pub, a lot of promotion in it, you know, it could be a very big record.